Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Influence to Income podcast. We're your hosts. My name's Doug, and this is my wife and business partner, Haley, and we're also joined by our 7-week-old Oliver. So if you guys hear her cooing or you see a baby being bopped around, if you're watching this on YouTube, that's who he is. So the purpose of this podcast is to be able to help influencers grow their personal brands while also making passive income online with digital courses. And so before we get into today's topic, which we're actually going to be talking about social proof, whether you need it or whether you don't, it's going to be a really awesome one. I want to remind you guys that we're also accepting new students, just a couple more for our program, Influencer Course Accelerator. An Influencer Course Accelerator is a program that's designed to be able to help influencers actually craft an offer and to create and launch an online course. So if you guys are into that, we have a masterclass on it. You can click a link somewhere around here. If you're listening to it on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or watching it on YouTube, there's a link. You can go watch the masterclass and then book a call, and maybe we'll work together. That'd be awesome. We'd be pumped.
So in today's podcast episode, we are going to be talking about a question that I get all the time. In fact, it is probably the number one most common objection as to why people assume that, creating passive income through digital products won't work for them. And that is because they don't have social proof, quote unquote, whatever the heck that even means. I mean, when people say that, I assume what they mean is that they don't have a large online following. So a lot of times they'll either not have even started their Instagram account or whatever they deem as crucial for success, like their YouTube channel, or they will have already started one and they only have a couple hundred followers, and they think, or honestly, sometimes they'll have 1,000 followers and think they need 10,000, right, Doug?
Yeah. And it's funny because social proof is a term that wasn't even around 5 years ago or 7 years ago or so. Whenever the whole online craze started, social proof wasn't a thing.
Yeah, and I think that the reason why people assume this is, and we've talked about it before, so I'm not going to rehash it, but it is just because of the culture that is social media. You see these people living lavish lifestyles. You assume that you kind of equate that their social following is the reason they're living these lavish lifestyles, and probably most of the time that is the case, but that is just one path towards success, and that is basically you need to have a large following to make money.
Yeah, and so I think what happens too, and hopefully I don't cut you off on this because I have no idea where all this is going, by the way. But what also people think is they look at this and they think, well, this person is successful because they have all this stuff.
Yes.
Not that they got all this stuff because they were successful. It's they think in order to be successful, you have to have the Bentleys, you have to have the private jets, you have to have...
Or not even that. I don't know what kind of influencers Doug's following, but, the Chanel bags or whatever. Our primary demo is women here, so maybe not the Bentleys. I mean, although some women do drive Bentleys, but you know what I'm saying? It's usually the big homes. I mean, all these influencers nowadays, I don't know if it's just the people I follow. I mean, I don't know. They're all building their home from the ground up, and they're doing all these crazy things, and you would just assume that you need to have this social proof, maybe not of you building your own home, but of you having a certain amount of followers to launch an online course. Just also because hello numbers, and Doug can speak to this, so you might assume that you need a lot of people to meet your whatever your income goal is, 10K months, and in order to do that, you have to have eyes on you. But we'll get to that in a second. That is not always the case. And in fact, what I really want to call out today is that it is, if you believe that, and if you truly think that that is what is required to make passive income through online courses, it is actually the longest route towards any type of passive income, if you choose to believe this, because it is a belief, and it's not something that has been the case for us in growing this second business, which is talking about online courses. We really had hardly any following for this.
Yeah.
Really, my following was catered towards YouTubers, and then obviously people that were interested in my mom life. Yeah. So we kind of had to start from nearly scratch, and I could have assumed that I had no one following me either.
Yeah, the more specific that Haley ended up getting in terms of working on her programs, it went from big followings to smaller followings to even smaller followings to even smaller followings.
Tiny following. Yeah. So I could have assumed that too, but I mean, yeah, us assuming that definitely would have cost us a lot of things. So it is the longest route in thinking that you have to be nearly honestly socially famous on social media to, make passive income. So we want to kind of just shed some light onto, what this belief is going to cost you. And, to answer the question, do you need social following or social proof to make a substantial amount of money, whether that's 10K months or 50K months or 100K months? Sometimes you do. So I'm not going to come on here and be like, you can have 0 following. Sometimes you actually can have 0 following, but we're going to talk about those specific instances in today's podcast and, really where you should put your focus.
So let's think too about like, is there already proof out there of people that are successful with very low social proof? Mm-hmm. Do you have examples of people or other people that you follow? Like, is it real? Is it a real case?
Because usually, and like what I've said before, we like to base our success off of, what has already been working for other people. Like, we don't necessarily want to reinvent the wheel on how we are planning on getting success. So we're not just going to sit here and assume, it's going to work for us when it's never been done. Like, yes, there are cases of that happening, but we don't want to be inventors of like a path to success. We just want to see that it's worked for someone else and then mimic that success. So a lot of times when you follow like your traditional influencer, you will see, like I said, people with large accounts, and you won't see like the opposite. So once we started diving into the online course world, and maybe you can talk on this, we started noticing patterns of success that were complete opposite to what I was used to. So when we started opting into these really large coaching programs, which we talked about in the last podcast episode, which you guys should, listen to, why, successful people hire coaches.
Yeah, you can find that on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify.
I'll link it down below. But when we paid into our first like 20K coaching program, the person that was running it hardly had a social presence. I mean, I think at the time, the person had like probably a couple thousand on Instagram, which I know is more than maybe some of you guys have.
1,000 people.
That's more than my 5.
That's not what we're talking about. Okay, we're talking about like
relative.
Usually, what you see and you think is success, like millions of dollars. You think they have million. You think like $1 is 1 follower. Yeah, that's what people think. They're like, oh my goodness. They're like, this person has 100,000 followers. They must make $7 million a month. But
or 100,000, and that's not the case. Yeah.
But in this case, it was like 2,000 people making $1 million, like $2 or $3 million a year.
Yes,
I think it was.
That's what she was doing. Yeah.
And
so
we were like,
what is happening?
This isn't real.
Yeah. And at first we were like, is this like, did we buy into a scam?
Yeah.
And it wasn't, obviously.
Some snake oil stuff going on.
No, Doug. It made us a lot of money, this program. We've talked about it before. But this wasn't just one instance. Once we got into the program and we surrounded ourselves with course creators that were making way more than the traditional average influencer, making like 6 figures a year. These people were making 6 figures a month in the matter of like less than a year. They didn't have giant online presences. And I honestly felt like I found the ticket to, I don't even know, I was going to say the Wizard of Oz, but like the land of freedom.
That's like your
the golden
like Charlie,
ticket.
Or not Willy Wonka. Yeah. Like
yes.
Wonka,
Anyways, I found the golden ticket. And I kept being like, Doug, this is real. And he's like, I don't understand. Like, where are they getting people from?
I had no idea. And because we just come from a traditional like influencer life, organic content, post. These people, not only was it like 2,000 followers, it was like 2,000 followers and they haven't posted in 3 weeks.
Yeah. I mean, we were like,
come on, man.
And then I started
stories.
Yeah. I started to question myself. Like, why am I like this rat on a hamster wheel? Whatever, hamster on a hamster wheel. Why am I like obsessed and like seriously nervous, twitching about like the fact that I didn't post on Instagram that day, or the fact that I didn't have like, the next viral video, it didn't happen that month. Like, what am I doing with my life and with my time, stressing for no reason when these people are just killing it? They're making way more money than any influencer I knew, regardless of like the sub count on YouTube or Instagram, whatever. Yeah. And like, what was I doing? So, some of these people, and I will maybe link them down below because I know you're not going to believe me. But some of them that I do want to call out just to, I don't know, basically prove it to you guys, because I know it's like, okay, who's she talking about? So Alex Hormozy is one. He teaches, in a roundabout way, he teaches gym owners how to get leads from Facebook and just like increase their business. I think he went from 0 to, I want to say, so please don't like quote me, but like 90 million in 2 years. Insanity. So he used Facebook ads. So we're going to talk about that because you're going to be like, they're doing ads and they have so much money for ads. That is also a common like lie. Yeah. And then Sam Ovens, who you guys can look up, but he teaches like about online courses and getting clients and stuff like that. So he doesn't even have a social presence really. He just has a ginormous email list and he runs ads.
Yeah, lots of ads.
And then another one is Tanner, and I think I'm saying his last name wrong, Chittister. So yeah, he scaled to 7 figures doing like fitness coaching. So that is something that I know a lot of people watching me do, and he didn't have a giant presence either.
None of them.
So none of them. And these people are making millions of dollars per month, you guys.
And it's like, you think that they would be constantly posting on Instagram or constantly posting on YouTube. doing like well, I guess reels weren't around when we were first starting this, but it's like doing stories every day, doing TikTok, whatever it is. You think that they'd be trying to blow up.
Yeah, no.
But they're not.
They don't even have the accounts.
No,
yet.
and it blows my mind because it's like it almost invalidates everything that we've done.
Yes. Like my whole paradigm, my whole like what I knew to be true was just like
it was so bad.
Dead. Like, I don't even know. So the one thing that I took from discovering all of this, I think I might have discovered it last year or the year before, is that following the herd isn't always a good idea.
Yeah.
And once this really struck home for me, I started to question like my entire existence, like I said, on social media. Doug and I started thinking like, wait, this strategy to like how much money we want to make and the passive income thing, like it's not possible through these traditional influencer ways. It's almost like I'm, posting incessantly on all these platforms. We're stressing about views, stressing about brands, listen to the first podcast episode if you haven't heard about that whole story, but for no reason. And we could be doing the opposite to everybody else and making way more, which is in fact what we started doing and what we've been able to do this last year.
So once that like realization hit us, and once as Haley likes to say, the paradigm shift happened, we became what's that phrase that you always just say? Haley used to tell this story or like this thing that she read in a book somewhere about like a rhino driving the wrong direction on the road. You remember that? It's like a big highway of a bunch of animals going a certain way, and there's one rhino going the opposite way. That was becoming us. That's what we were becoming.
So I was like, I'm not going to drive the same way if you guys don't
as everybody else.
Yeah.
And so what we did instead, so everybody going the same way would be like post, follow. Like people were doing pods, trying to get followings, and people were trying to, do shout outs and do everything that they could to try to be able to grow, get their videos to go viral. But we did the opposite. So we were like, okay, let's tone that back and let's focus on email, right? We want to be able to grow our email list, to be able to get people to get them off of the social platform, to be able to get them to be our own customers. And then we wanted to do direct outreach, which is like totally different than what people would do. Most of the time you're like, okay, yeah, go check my link in my bio for my affiliate link or for whatever it was. And instead we started learning how to do direct outreach and direct sales. And then the last thing we did was we started to run ads. Now ads might be kind of a trigger word for some people.
Anytime I talk about ads, like Facebook ads, putting money into Facebook ads and investing,
Instagram, YouTube,
I always
Google.
get someone saying, well, I don't have money for ads. And listen,
like,
we
chill,
did not have money.
Yeah. Let's calm down. Okay. The moment you're like ads and you're like, I don't have money. Okay. like you got to calm down. There's ways to go about things, and we're going to talk to you guys all about how we did it. And yeah,
we didn't have money for ads either. I got to throw that out there before someone's like, I'm clicking away. Okay. Go ahead, Doug.
Okay. Ads are not something that's necessary to be successful.
Yeah, and also they're not like 100% necessary to meet most income goals. So, like I've talked about before, Doug and I have lofty goals. We want to make whatever. We want to make 100K months like consistently. We want to hit $1 million months. We want to really, really scale because of whatever, for different reasons maybe we'll talk about later, but most people just want to make like 10 grand a month. They want to quit their job.
Yeah, you're like, man,
you don't need ads.
People are like, I couldn't even imagine $20,000 a month, and I don't blame you. Neither could we for a long time, but you probably don't need ads to hit those kinds of numbers. You don't. And that's not something that's not necessary, because what it is it all comes back down to math. And what it all comes down to is how many people can you get to see your product, and then what's the price?
Yeah, what's the price?
So if you can do that math right, then you don't need ads. But yeah, if you want to be able to go to like 100K, 200K, 500K months, and you're not a celebrity at that point, then you're going to have to start running ads.
Yeah. And, obviously social proof, to get down to it, it is a bonus, but is not necessary. So let me just say before someone comes at me, social proof is 100% necessary if you are teaching someone how to grow on Instagram and you have an Instagram following of 5, unless for some reason you can show really baller testimonials of how you've grown other people's accounts, and maybe you have like video testimonials.
But you see, then at that point, them. You do have social proof.
Yeah,
it's just not follower yours. Count. Okay, we'll try to make that clear too. In some cases, social proof is just like, here's my proof, I've helped people.
Yeah.
But to some people, they also think, well, I don't have a follower account. And in some cases, like, that's an immediate turnoff. Like Haley was saying, if I'm trying to grow my Instagram account and you have like 15 followers, even if you have baller testimonials, I might not give you the time of day.
Yeah.
You know, so you need something to get them in the door at least.
Yeah. And honestly, like the bottom line, the more course creators that we work with or influencers that turn course creators, we have found that it is not necessary. And oftentimes it's just a waste of time to focus on all those vanity metrics when you should be focusing on the only thing that matters for you and your family and your future, which is sales. Like it comes down to it is a business. So when you go from like being an influencer, it's like, I mean, it is a business being an influencer, doing affiliates and sponsorships, but it's just not like business fundamentals at its core. And that is when you are a course creator, it really comes down to how much you're selling and how many sales you get.
And so let's before we start losing people because they're gonna be like, oh, they don't know what they're talking about, a bunch of ads, blah blah blah. Let's talk about some people. Let's talk about some. Yes,
we're gonna talk about real case studies.
Okay, go ahead. You start with the first one.
Okay, so the first person that, because I always like to give examples to you guys so you guys can go and literally look the people up, and I will link them for you. But Casey from Brick by Brick Wealth. So I think she launched her first online digital product / online course with a coaching element to it. So I'm not going to say that it's just like a cheap $97 product. No. I think I don't remember how much her first one is. Also, I don't want to out these people's like payments because I'm not going to do that. Yeah. You guys can go find out if you want to. But her first price product was a beta launch. So she launched it at a discounted price. And she made her first 10K month. So $10,000 she pocketed. And she only had, I think, less than 1,000 followers on her Instagram. And she'd only been doing Instagram a couple months, you guys.
Yes. And within 30 days of like announcing her offer.
Yes.
Like the first 30 days she opened it, she hit a 10K month.
Yeah. And last month she hit nearly around $40,000. You guys can look her up. I think she has around 3,000 followers. And she, in case you're wondering and you don't want to look her up, she teaches people how to invest in their first rental property. Yes. So I know some of you guys are also going to be like, well, that's a really fancy skill. Like, I just know how to like knit.
I just know how to bake pies or something.
Whatever. It doesn't even matter because that's just one of several people that we've helped coach from zero who make a good, like they meet their income goals. Her income goal was 10K for the year and she's already made like over $50,000 and she literally just started.
Yeah. So let's shift gears a little bit. So we also have Casey Vu.
Another Casey.
Yeah, but it's not Casey, it's just spelled differently. Yeah. So Casey Vu. So she is not doing something as tangible as like real estate or something as normal, normal as real estate. She's actually doing business consultation and manifestation, right?
Yeah.
So she did that, and she actually, I believe, she quit her job.
Yeah, she quit her job in I think less than 9 months. Yeah. So she's able to be home with her baby. She's pregnant again. So
and I don't even think she has 2,000 followers on Instagram.
No, it's very low, and I just love it. Like it's almost more empowering for me to say, that girl doesn't even have a large following and she's making a killing. Yeah. Like I want people to say that about me, I don't want them to be like, oh my God, Haley has a huge following. Like, I don't even care.
No, I'd be like, I want people coming up to me like, you make $100,000 a month with only like 10,000 followers. How do you do that?
Yeah.
Like,
or less.
What is that? Yeah. What is that number that you hit? So she's an example too of somebody who's able to go through the program, be successful and do it without a big following.
Yeah. And we actually helped Casey pull out when she started the program last year, we helped her pull out a skill that she didn't even really value. Like the fact that she was good at manifestation and just being a positive, uplifting spirit. Sounds so arbitrary, but we helped her package that skill that she kind of suppressed and thought it was normal. And she's been able to quit her job from it. So everyone has a sellable skill. And maybe you want to talk about Chrissy.
Yeah. So Chrissy was doing, so she actually ran an Etsy shop for a while. Yeah. And was doing that. And then was like, she was trying to do motherhood on YouTube. Yeah,
she was like a mommy YouTuber for literally like 5 years, not making her income goals.
Yeah, and then we told her, and then we were like, why don't you just do the Etsy thing that you've been able to do? And then she hit a 10K month in her first 30 days of
really
of her
small
offer
following.
With a really small following, and she's been doing that consistently, selling a course on Etsy.
Yeah, and I think, again, last month, something like 40K or 50K. You guys can find out if you want to be snoopy and, go ask her. I don't know if she'll tell you. But, yeah, she's been really successful because she, again, found a sellable skill that she thought was normal, at first.
And, of course, we have, there's successful people. We could throw stories out there of people who have followings. But that's not the point of this episode. This episode is to tell you that there's proof out there of people that are doing it.
Yeah, and these women, like literally, they didn't live, they weren't a special circumstance kind of unicorn thing where they didn't have kids and came from a bunch of money and did ads. None of them did any advertising like with money. No. They just did word of mouth like through Instagram. Honestly, that's it. Yeah. And they had kids at home. They were full-time jobs, a lot of them, and they made it happen. So, and they grew from zero and they made their first 10K month. So it's absolutely possible. It's just. It's that belief that's like really killing people and stopping people. Yeah. The fact that they think they need social proof is just sabotaging everything.
Yeah. So, but let's flip it here a little bit. Okay. Let's think about this from the other side of things. There are times where these people, they did need social proof. And what did they need? They need to not look like a scammer. So you need to have an account.
Yeah, you need it. You need to be posting.
You need to be posting. Like you need to be there. You need to be like present and you need to have a picture of your face. You can't have just stock photos or something that's put on there. You need to actually be present and be something that's real. If people DM you got to DM them back. Stuff like that. Okay. That's like the extent of it. People need to just think, okay, this person's real. Like, is this person legit or is this person a scammer? When they Google you, or something like that, you don't want to be non-existent. You need to have some kind of a social account that shows up. But that's kind of it.
Yeah.
I think that's really it.
And, people at the end of the day, when it comes to getting sales and leveraging social proof and social media, like at the end of the day, people don't really care about you. They care about, how you can answer a pain point or a problem that they have. And they just really want their problem fixed, So regardless of whether you have 100 followers or 10,000, if you can really convert to the sale, like in the DMs or through your content, they're really not going to care.
Yeah, not at all. And like Haley was saying, what it comes down to is your ability to paint the picture that you are the path to getting them wherever they need to be. Like that's really what it comes down to. But that's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah, and honestly, like it didn't really bother me that the first coach we ever bought into for $20,000 only had, I think, like 2K followers. Like I didn't care. Yeah. She had the answer to my solution at the time, so I was willing to pay whatever.
Her solution was exactly what we wanted, and it was exactly what we needed, and it spoke to the pain point that we had.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was honestly a benefit that she didn't have a huge following. Like I thought, I want to do that.
Yeah, because that's what we wanted. We wanted to stop posting. I think we kind of glossed over that whole thing. We didn't want to post as much. We didn't want to be on social media as much. We wanted to be able to run ads if we needed to, and not have to be constantly like vlogging or doing things like that to show that we're real and that we have social proof. We don't have to keep following or keep growing our accounts. So it was a benefit in that sense.
Yeah. And when it comes to the 3 girls that we mentioned and so many others that we've been able to help coach meet their income goals, it really comes down to finding people like online in the way that suits you. So for some people, they're going to not mind, posting incessantly on Instagram. I say incessantly because that's how I feel about it. But, most of the time you have to post every day. Yeah. That is what the algorithm favors, especially on Instagram. But some people don't mind that, and it's not something that they care about. Like, if they don't have 3 kids like I do, the baby literally strapped to me snoring. Yeah. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but they don't care. So that's totally fine. But there are other, different ways to go about getting sales, like going into Facebook groups or maybe leveraging ads if you are more risk tolerant like we are. And if you can go deep with a person, you don't necessarily need to spam them every day on Instagram. You just need to simply have a conversation.
So what this really comes down to, and when we start talking about like making that paradigm shift, like Haley was talking about earlier, people tend to not want to be able to do that. They don't want to believe it. They want to be able to sit there and believe that you have to have the big following there, and you have to post and you have to become a celebrity, because if it is true, which it is, if it is true that you can make a ton of money with a little bit of a following, that means they don't have an excuse anymore. Yeah. That means that anyone can make it happen. And that's a scary feeling to actually know, like, it's on me. And the cost of believing that lie that it isn't on you and that you have to have a following, the cost of it is like all of your dreams, everything you could ever want to be able to happen.
Like, it is much easier to be a victim to your circumstance and assume that it's just not going to work for you because of XYZ. But it's a lot harder to like face the fact that you can have everything you want if you just go and get it and if you work for it.
Yeah, and I don't want to get too preachy on here. I don't want to sit here and act like we're coaching everybody and we're like,
I love this part of it though.
I know Haley loves to get all up in people's
like, it's literally all about your mindset. It has nothing to do with like numbers on social media, like 0%, because there are people that we have helped coach, and even ourselves, like they want it so bad. And for us, it was literally not an option. Like I didn't care if I had negative followers. I had to do it because this is what I was doing. And people just make it happen. Like they don't give themselves a luxury of an excuse. Like I don't know how many times I could say that, but it's just true. Like there's always an excuse. Just stop. Just don't be a victim. Like,
yeah. Listen, so it's possible to happen, or it's possible to make it happen. Okay. So you can go out there with whatever many followers you want, and you can go out and definitely make some type of money, and you can actually make that happen. But I think before Haley gets too crazy, I think we're going to cut her off here. But if you guys like this podcast, if you like this episode, always give us a like or a comment on YouTube. If you're listening there, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please leave us a review and like a rating. We'd really appreciate it. It'd be awesome to hear from you guys. And again, if you're interested in Influencer Course Accelerating, you want to learn more about it, click on a link somewhere around here. And I think that's all that we have for today. So we'll talk to you guys on the next episode.
Bye, guys.